How many of you are generating leads right now? You see the forms coming in, the DMs coming in, the consult requests coming in. At the end of the month, you're still saying, we should have closed more. Or maybe you're saying, my marketing isn't working. Google isn't converting. The leads just aren't good. But what if your marketing isn't broken? What if your follow-up is? In medspa marketing, generating the lead is only 30% of the job. The other 70% is what happens after they raise their hand. I'm Julie Dunkirk, Senior Marketing Consultant at Diamond Accelerator. I help med spas execute full marketing systems that turn leads into booked appointments and loyal long-term patients. My focus isn't just on generating traffic, it's on building the follow-up systems, automation, and patient outreach strategies that ensure no opportunity, no revenue slips through the cracks. And today I'm going to show you how marketing and follow-up work together to drive real consistent growth. We are not selling impulse buys. We're selling Botox and filler, laser treatments, RF microneedling, body contouring, hormone therapy, weight loss, functional medicine. These are high consideration decisions, and patients will do their research. They'll compare, they'll stalk your Instagram, they'll read reviews, they'll look for before and afters, they'll ask friends, they'll get nervous, and sometimes even talk themselves out of it. So you're not competing against other med spas. You're competing against fear, budget hesitation, procrastination, and decision fatigue. If your follow-up is weak, you lose. It can take 6 to 8 touch points just to generate a qualified lead. Sometimes 20 plus interactions before someone actually books, 10 to 15 touch points to convert a high ticket service. 80% of sales require 5 or more follow-ups, and 44% of businesses give up after 1 or 2. One voicemail, one phone call, and then they stop. That is not a leads problem. That is a persistence problem. And where I see the biggest operational breakdown is you cannot rely on your team making a few phone calls, leaving a few voicemails, and then giving up because they didn't make contact. Let's think about behavior. Most leads are seeing your ads late at night when they're doom scrolling themselves to sleep, on their lunch break, or during downtime. So let's say they fill out the form at 10:30 p.m. and then what happens? Your staff calls them at 10 a.m. the next day. They're either at work, they're in meetings, they're with patients, they're driving, they're busy. So you leave a voicemail saying, feel free to give us a call back. And then by the time they call back at the end of their busy workday, you might be closed. How many of you answer phone calls from numbers you don't recognize? Very few hands will go up to that question. The likelihood of converting leads through phone-only contact in 2026 is extremely low. Text messages have a 95% open read and response rate, and we live in a world where texting is easier and preferred. I'm not saying don't call your leads. I'm saying you cannot rely only on phone calls. And this is where automation and structured texting change everything. And I hear constantly, are we being too pushy? Are we texting too much? I would be annoyed if I got that many text messages. This is making us look desperate. But you have to remember, you're not spamming strangers. You're following up on people that raised their hand. They filled out a form. They clicked on your ad. They asked for pricing. Follow-up is not desperation. Follow-up is service. And when you stop after 1 or 2 touches because you're afraid of being annoying, you're not protecting your reputation. You're protecting your comfort. What hurts your reputation is not responding 3 days later, losing DMs, being inconsistent. Structured follow-up makes you look attentive. And what structured follow-up looks like is, hey, or what structured follow-up doesn't look like is, hey, just checking in to see if you're ready to get scheduled. Strong follow-up structure is lead nurturing. When someone fills out a form, they should automatically receive a text message or some kind of communication that includes authority building content, a short video going over what to expect at your upcoming consultation, provider instructions, who's a good candidate, why this treatment works, and then trickle throughout your automation, before and after photos, testimonials, reviews with all kinds of social proof. Because if you're not educating them and showing them every reason why they should choose you over the med spa down the street, they will do their own research and find someone else who does. Silence creates shopping behavior, and education builds trust. And most of the time, leads don't convert right away. This is because they're busy. They can't work it into their schedule, or they're worried about it not being in their budget right now. So again, educate them. Add this to your automation. Did you know we offer budget friendly payment plans? You can treat yourself now and pay over time. Here's the link. See what plans you qualify for. And now you've removed a barrier, you've sweetened the pot, and you've turned hesitation into possibility. And again, not every lead is going to convert in 24 hours. Sometimes it takes 30 to 90 days. So old leads in your CRM are not dead. They're waiting for timing, funds, confidence, a reminder. If you paid for that lead once, why would you never speak to them again? A simple reactivation text can revive thousands in revenue. And the easiest revenue you will ever make is from someone who already trusts you. And this is where your targeted patient outreach comes in. So follow-ups just aren't for new leads. Follow-ups are for your existing client list too. Talks touch-ups, filler touch-ups, we miss you texts. So if you have a patient that hasn't been in to see you for over 12 months, we miss you. Here's a $50 gift voucher to use towards your next service. These types of follow-ups and reminders get people back in the door. And if you don't remind them, they will forget. It's easier to blame marketing, but marketing fills the pipeline. Follow-ups turn the pipeline into revenue. And if you're generating leads and not converting them, your marketing probably isn't broken. Your follow-up is. So I want you to audit your process after this call. How many times are we following up? Are we using automation? Are we relying only on phone calls? Are we educating and building authority? That's the biggest piece. And are we addressing budget objections? Are we reactivating old leads? Are we reaching out to existing patients? Because the practices that win are not the ones with the most leads. They're the ones with the best follow-up systems. So I'm going to open the floor for any questions. Do you have any questions coming in? What are some examples of follow-up messages beyond "Are you ready to get scheduled?" So follow-up messages beyond "Are you ready to get scheduled?" The biggest part is, again, adding the authority into your follow-ups, providing education, ending every single message in your follow-up process with some form of call to action. Don't leave it open-ended. If you send a message to a lead and you're relying on them to respond without asking some kind of question at the end of the message, you're not getting that permission to follow up. So having a clear call to action and asking a question at the end of every single message is basically asking for permission to follow up without asking for permission. How many times should I follow up with leads? That's a great question. So ideally, what I like to see, and it's not necessarily following up every single day. You want to kind of spread it out a little bit. So as as the leads start coming in, again, within the first 5 minutes, they should automatically receive some form of message from your team, through automation that includes that authority building content. But then, following up the next day, same thing, and then kind of spreading it out to 2 days later, 3 days later, and then eventually the messages will stop, and that's where a lot of people think that those leads become dead. They're no longer interested, but that's where those text reactivations come in. Sending out a text blast to every single patient that opted in on your laser hair removal campaign but didn't book, with a reminder of what they opted in on. A lot happens in people's lives. People get super busy, and the more time that goes by, the less likely they are to remember you, unless you're constantly putting this stuff down their throat. So the more education that you push towards them and the more authority you build through that content, I think that the patient testimonials do the best. More before and after photos throughout your messaging do really well. But with specific devices, people can look at before and afters and think that they can get those results from any med spa in town that has that same device. But you really want to make sure that you're building that face-to-face human connection by attaching those what to expect videos of the providers kind of building their authority and showcasing what they do to start making people comfortable. So I hope that answers your question. We've got some Instagram viewers. Gabby, hey Gabby. I have a huge database and texting everyone at once is too expensive. How can I keep them engaged? Segmenting. So segmenting your lists. Kind of going back to what I just said about texting every single person that opted into your laser hair removal. Those lists are much smaller and you can kind of segment them throughout the month, or spend time focusing on one specific service or one specific segmented list each month is helpful. You know, keeping the text messages at a minimum, but still really working on getting your point across and building that excitement to get them re-engaged. All right, so if you love this training, make sure you share it with your team or another med spa that could benefit from it. You can always catch us on the replay on YouTube channel. You can access more free training that will grow or help your med spa. Visit our link tree in our social bio and be sure to join us live every Wednesday, 2:30 Central, same time, same place. Find us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Thank you, everyone.